Weariness, and I got 3 points from this text right here. As you know, they tell me good preachers have 3 points, so I'm going to do my best. He said, weariness. First point is a battle of the mind. Yeah. He said, let us. I'm still in verse 6, in verse 9. Let us suggest that not stopping is a continuous decision. He says it's a battlefield, it's a war in the mind when weariness comes and stopping and continuing a long distance run, if you will, is decided in the battlefield of the mind. Right. Now those of you, some of you may exercise, I don't know, but in the military I have to exercise. Right. And Reverend Banks, Pastor Banks, I have the hardest time because I don't like running. Running to me is a waste of time, running around the track over and over and over, not chasing nobody chasing me, I'm just running. But they make us run anyhow. Getting there, and as I'm running, and we have to run 1.5 miles, and right about a mile, or right about 3/4 of a mile, I get weary, and there's a battle that takes place in my mind. My mind began to tell me this is not the official test. So if you keep on running, I know you can make it to the finish. So you don't really have to prove nothing to nobody. You can stop right here. There's a battle in my mind. If I may, let me read Romans 7:10-20. We should be familiar with this, but for we know that the law is spiritual, but I am carnal, sold under sin. For that which I do, I allow not. For what I would, that do I not. But what I hate, that I do. If then I do that which I could not, I consent unto the law that it is good. Now then it is no more I that do it, but the sin that dwelleth in me. For I know that in me, that is in the flesh, dwelleth no good thing. For when the will is present with me, but how is to perform the good I find not. For the good that I would do, but the evil is present with me at all times, that I do. Listen, for those of you who have missed it, this is Paul in a moment of agony expressing the war that goes on in his mind. I know it sounds crazy, but he has a conflict going on in his mind. Listen, I don't have to go to Paul. You know, there are some folk that have conflict. Y'all, I love that church, but I tell you what, they stay in there too long. You know, I love singing in the choir, but I don't like those songs. You know, I would be an usher boy, and when I was there, you know, it was so enjoyable. But why they gotta stand all the time? There's a conflict, and the weariness is in the battle of the mind. People are weary. They tend to double talk. People are weary. It's hard to really understand them. You try to help them and you try to counsel them, but they're talking out both sides of the mouth because there is a war going on in their mind. They want to quit, but they know they shouldn't quit, but they want to quit, but they know they shouldn't quit, but they want to quit, and they can't really express it. They can't really get to a decision point because there is a war going on. Weariness is a battle of the mind. I got a second point for you. That is, weariness is fueled by expectations out of season. Shall I say it again? Weariness is fueled by expectations that are out of season. He says in that B part of that scripture, for in due season we shall reap. See, I don't know about you, but now I'm just telling all my business. But my wife of 19 years, we're gonna get married again this summer. And it's gonna be 20 years. And I put in an extra effort to start exercising a little longer. Yeah, so I can get a few pounds off. So I can look debonair during the wedding. But when I step on the scale, I don't see any results of my labor. I don't know, am I by myself? But see, the problem is oftentimes when we try, and there's been times when my brother, I say, you know what, it's probably not even worth it because for whatever it is, I'm past 40, so I ain't gonna lose no more weight anyway. Weariness comes when our expectations are out of season. We're not willing to wait until the fruit of our labor is produced. We want it now, or at least 2 minutes out of the microwave. Yes, sir. Right. Pastor, I'm sure the more you preach, it seems strange that the church fights even more. The more the church prays, blood is still spilled in the streets of Omaha. Yes, sir. Parents, we drag our kids to church, but they still end up pregnant or in prison. Paul said, in due season, we shall reap. It is in God's time that the results of our witnessing is brought to light. Pastor, it is in God's timing that the results of our preaching comes forth. It is in God's time, church, that the results of our praying comes forth. Why it is in God's time that the result of our singing produces fruit. Yes, it's in God's time, deacons and trustees, that God's timing that the results of our administration is produced. We have to make sure that our expectations are not out of season. See, a lot of us, and most of the time, we get into planting seeds. And we expect seed time and harvest to take place simultaneously. Yes, some of us in here right now are in conflict. Because your finances don't quite look like the way you think they ought to. And you're trying to determine if you're giving too much money to the church. You're trying to determine if you should cut back on your tithes and your offering. Yeah, that you are weary in your mind because you expect when you give to God, then you ought to be blessed today. You don't want to wait for the harvest time. You want it now. Listen, there are some trees, when you plant that tree, it won't produce fruit for 3 to 5 years, but you still have to water it. Yeah, you may be doing this and you may be doing that, you may be giving, you may be in church every Sunday, but somebody else's tree is producing fruit. You've gone through winter, you've gone through summer, you've gone through spring, and here it is winter again. And no fruit has been produced in your life. Stop expecting your fruit out of season.